Okay, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our June 3rd, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting. We have quite a few things on the agenda today, so we will jump right into it. Just for the record, pointing out that Councillor Wimp is not with us this evening. And CAO Lockwood is also not with us this evening. CAO Lockwood is a well-deserved holiday, and Deputy CAO Shannon Bergeron is here with us, filling in, so thank you so much. But okay, jumping right into it, does anyone have any additions or amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, I'll ask for a mover and a second to adopt the agenda as presented.
I'll adopt the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Councilor Slater. Councilor, okay, thank you. And next we need to, looking for a mover and a seconder to adopt the draft minutes from the May 20th, 2025 regular meeting.
I'll also move to adopt the minutes from said meeting.
Thank you. I'll second. Second, all in favor? I call all in favor on the first one. Sorry, procedural. Don't be calling me on that. All in favor of the agenda? Okay, great. Thank you. So next up we have the open payables. So looking for a motion to pay the open payables in the amount of $186,248.83.
I'd like to motion to pay the open payables at the postage.
Thank you, Councillor Davina.
I'll second.
Second, Councillor Norma. Comments, questions?
63301 Old Time Construction. What are they doing for us right now?
So that is the repairs to the old visitor center after they moved out, so we will be reimbursed by YG for that month.
Next. That was all for me.
Anyone else?
63295. IG World Management.
The industrial alliance, that is the one that, that's
Below that,
Sorry, IG Wealth. It was 96. Sorry.
2,371.
oh, say. IG will take, that's a payment for, an accumulation of our employees, RSP. Not everyone is, listed.
I guess sorry. Were you finished?
Yeah.
Okay. My only question was about there's a check number here where it's just where it says first due. I've never seen that on here before. It was 1625. Check.
Go here.
It's first due.
Oh, I see, so that means they were paid by EFT.
Okay.
And that was for our, ICS training.
Okay. Thank you. That was it for me.
Which one was that? I didn't see that.
It was at the top where the checks are. At the bottom, the one ending in 1625, just as first due. It's about 10,000 stuff.
I remember the other question I had. So user building instruction.
Oh, right.
How many months is that rent? I'm assuming it's cold storage, is that correct?
Yes, I believe it's 6. He only bills a couple of times a year.
Yeah, but do we know how much it is? I think bills quarterly, is that correct?
Yeah.
I think it's usually every 6 months.
Oh, wow, so it's.
Okay, great. If there's nothing further, I'll call the question. All in favor of passing open bills? Okay, that will pass. Thank you so much. And next up, we have a delegation today. We have Peter Sturgett here with us for some comments on the animal control bylaw.
So did everybody read the letter?
Yes.
So-
Do you want to come up to the table here just so we can get you on the mic and the camera? Oh, yeah. Awesome. Welcome. Thank you for coming in. We got the series of emails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So-
the first one, nobody answered, so that kind
Hmm.
of got the fire going to me, like I was being ignored.
I'm sorry about that. Okay, so you had some comments on the animal control bylaw?
Yeah, I need a rodent control cat for my business. And 34 years that I've had that business, it's never been a problem. And if on the letter, you'll see that some northern communities, cats are not even listed in the bylaws. Like one person making a complaint does not make a problem cat. And there's no real alternative to having a cat. I've had in 34 years. I've had no cat for a while too. And there's definitely more mice, you know, you can put as much traps as you want. It doesn't make any difference.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, the bylaw that's being enforced right now, of course, is an old bylaw.
Yeah.
We're in the process right now of renewing that bylaw, so this is actually somewhat timely.
Yeah.
I understand that you had some actual wording suggestions for the animal bylaw, because we have not done third and final on that yet. So if you have any suggestions, we'd love to hear that as far as wording or things that you think should be changed from previous bylaws.
Yeah.
I know you've read it.
Yeah.
So, if you have suggestions for that wording, we'd love to hear it.
pretty much any one of the top list. Dawson City, Yellowknife, Fort Nelson, Haynes Junction. You know, they're northern communities similar to us. And they don't waste time chasing after problem cats.
I guess I'm curious which bylaws you're referring to. The ones that we had provided to us from Haynes Junction and Dawson City say the exact same thing. Oh, mind you, maybe that's our new proposed bylaw. Okay. Is the draft out? The public, yeah,
The draft is out.
did you look at the draft for the new one? Out
Uh,
of curiosity?
I did briefly, but I don't
Okay.
recall.
I think that was the one.
Because I did compare all three of those, and the wording in ours is pretty darn
But it-
identical from Dawson and Haynes. Yeah,
I might not have paid that much attention.
although the one I did find interesting was the one that you provided from Cowichan and Lake Cowichan.
Yeah.
How it suggests, you know, like all the things, and then that maybe the spayed or neutered cat would be exempt from the above rules or whatever. I thought that was an interesting way of getting that in there.
And also New Westminster and Metro Vancouver,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
I admit I didn't look at it.
Peter, in particular, the section 5 there that mentioned, the neutered, cats was one that we looked at, and so actually this should go on the new bylaw, and we were like thankful that that was sent to the peruse it, and, we looked to add that portion in, believe it or not.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's not a problem cat. Like I've had this particular cat for like 3 or 4 years now. And, you know, the cat spends time outside and he sleeps somewhere outside, you know. I don't have to clean a litter box all summer, and that's, not the main reason why, but the reason is because of tourists. Because you can't have mice and tourists, or even a mouse trap in a tourist. Like when a tourist looks in a room and sees a mouse trap in a closet or under a bed, they're not gonna stay. You know, and the cat really does take care of that.
For sure,
Yes.
no, it does,
So-
that's the
Yeah.
effective
The
way.
original issue, it was the cat went into the neighbor's
Yes,
home, that was the issue.
yes, and he didn't call Ministry of Natural Resources because a squirrel got in his attic,
Yeah,
you know.
so do you have any, ideas of how you're going to prevent your cat from going in the
I
neighbor's?
think it's his responsibility to keep animals out of his home.
I
I
would
mean,
say
I
yes.
agree with you, I agree with you to, I agree with you to a certain extent, like not putting food by the door and things
Yeah.
like that, for sure.
Yeah.
Don't be attracted, but yeah, I don't think that there's,
I would say yes if they were wild animals, I don't 100%
Yeah.
agree with you. But I mean,
One of the places, I think it was. Like the Dawson City, Fort Nelson, all those places that cats are not mentioned, like people have enough sense that. If a cat doesn't belong in their house, don't let the cat in, chase the cat away, use water, whatever. One of these places, they actually said all the ways that you can get rid of a cat. Except, I think they were,
I
we read your tactics.
yeah, that was my personal tactics, but there actually is a bylaw somewhere.
I don't mean to offend anyone. However, I'm not a cat person. And I know I would not be comfortable having a cat come into my house.
Well, if a cat ever comes in your house, let me know and I'll help you get rid of the
I
cat.
also think the issue is that they have a dog door or cat door or something, I think is the issue as well, right? Like it's
Yeah.
open to the outside, it's open all the time for their own animals to go in and out, I think is
Yeah,
Was that in your original letter?
Which is,
Yeah.
which is.
that was the,
100%
what the
fine.
complaint guy
It's
said.
their house, it's their property, they should be allowed to have a cat or an animal door for their animals to go in and out. Not for other people's animals to go
I
in.
have
and
one.
out.
But,
I have one and other cats don't come in there. The first time they come in,
Because you have a cat, and they're probably afraid of it.
no, I squirted with water. You know, water bottle
well,
like
okay,
this.
so we're getting a little off track here. We're here to talk about the bylaw.
Yeah.
That's all that, as council, that's all we can really
Yeah.
control. Bylaw and the CAO are in charge of enforcing it, but we are in charge of reviewing it.
Yes,
So as far as the bylaw is concerned, I appreciate you providing that wording. Like I said earlier, I really like the part about the Lake Cowichan. That's something that I'm interested in incorporating into our draft copy. Was there anything else that you look at any other sections of the thing that, in case we're gonna say something else?
it was just one of these other bylaws in another place that said the ways that you can get rid of a cat.
Oh, okay.
It says, you know, you can do is something like you're not supposed to use a pellet gun,
I
stuff like
would
that.
think not.
Or
Yeah.
recording techniques or.
Yeah, but no, like common sense, like throwing water or a shoe, like, you know. When a strange cat comes to the house, I grab the nearest thing and just throw it at him.
Yeah, we're probably not gonna
That's fine.
incorporate that portion into the bylaw,
Yeah,
but, yeah,
but there was a list of things that you're not supposed to do.
Okay.
And that's,
well, I mean, there is a section in here about animal abuse as well, which is, you know, not intentionally torturing animals, not intentionally causing them anxiety. And that comes all the way from the Yukon government, Animal Protection and Control Act,
Yeah.
so that part came from them, that's where we got our wording on that. So we certainly don't wanna encourage people to be
Yeah.
harming animals.
Whitehorse has got a good thing that, the designated officer impounds a cat or dog, an attempt should be made to return the same day for no charge.
Mhm. Actually did read that as well.
Yeah, cause that's, you know, impounding and, you know, that's a lot of work.
Is your cat spayed and neutered? Does it have a
Of
cat?
course, yeah,
As a cat?
That's registered.
47.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be great going on forward into the bylaw for sure.
Yeah, and most other places, as long as the cat's neutered and has permanent identification, I think they mean like a tattoo or something. Cause having something hanging on their neck is kind of dangerous.
Well, I think, do cats get microchipped like dogs do?
They can.
They can,
You know.
but I don't know if anybody's got a thing to read them in this town.
The
Yeah.
town does, yeah, the
Oh,
town
okay.
does, cause they're microchipping the dogs as well, so.
Okay, good, you'll get a microchip next time.
Okay.
And, you know, as far as like dangling things,
No, for sure.
that's dangerous, like that's one of the things.
So, as this letter was written, like you said, 2 weeks ago, has this matter been resolved between you and your neighbor? And
No, I didn't wanna talk to him.
okay, so
I
is
think
there
I could
a chance of any sort of reconciliation, or is this just a matter of like?
I think he might have realized what an idiot he is, and he stopped complaining.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, like, Mayor Hunter said,
Yeah.
we can look at the bylaw and it has actually allowed us to make it better in fixing it, and
Yeah.
we're updating our bylaws and it's fortuitous coincidence of events because we are able to add some things to it, and we are going to take your comments and suggestions and
Yeah.
input, and I feel once we look at the final product there, Peter, that you'll feel heard and be happy with the final result.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm here, is because it's, when I found out it's about to be changed, you know,
Yeah.
I gotta make sure that it's changed so it makes sense.
So we haven't done third and final, so we're still able to amend that. So when would we be bringing this back? Because we're actually not gonna meet again now until August.
First, it was going to the animal protection, the animal health unit is going to review it and make sure it makes sense.
Okay.
As far as the act.
So we're thinking like end of August. So we're not gonna meet again, Peter, until, just look at my calendar
We
here.
have a regular next week, but we won't, unless you guys want
No,
to.
July 17th is now,
We-
or June 17th.
Amendments for the June 17th, that you guys can look at before it goes to the animal health.
I
unit.
keep thinking it's the end of June, wishful thinking. Sorry.
One more June meeting.
Do you think it'll be ready for something?
Well, if you guys wanted me to make some amendments for we can have it.
Okay, so
Or it goes to the animal.
Yeah.
health unit.
okay, so if you, we'll discuss again on June 17th, we'll get it on the agenda. If you
Okay.
wanted to have a look at, the copy, and then we'll discuss it again at that meeting, and then, we have to send it off for a second opinion to
Legal counsel.
other, the powers that be, and then,
So basically, Watson Lake is the only northern community that has a cat problem. And no, doesn't that
Well-
seem kind of odd?
I looked at the city of Whitehorse, and I looked at Hayes Junction, and both of them say cats or dogs, cats and dogs.
Yeah.
And in fact, the writing is like almost identical, so that's why I was a little bit confused by, and I didn't look too far outside of Watson Lake because, or outside of Yukon, because honestly, things are usually a lot different, and to be honest, I only had so much time to read all the bylaws, so I did review all the Yukon ones.
Yeah.
And and Whitehorse actually has not been reviewed since 2007 or something like that, so theirs is quite old, but they mentioned cats in there.
Yeah, because the Dawson City, I actually talked to Lee at the town office just to confirm.
I just wonder, and you,
At Yellowknife,
Have they
I
looked
did
at
call
that?
the city hall and asked them once.
have they looked at the bylaw? The staff, I just wonder.
Well, I called him just to confirm because I was reading all this stuff and I don't see cats mentioned. So I made a point to call those
Okay, well, maybe
places.
the copies that we got were different, anyway.
Gotta work it out. With regard to cats.
Anywho's.
Yeah.
Thank you again, is there, so we'll. Be incorporating something into the bylaw, and if you wanna join us again, or if you can join by Zoom as well, if you like, if you
Yeah.
don't wanna come in person. And we will discuss it again on June 17th,
Okay, well, I'll see you June
and
17th.
we'll have some amendments in there,
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
as long as, if it wasn't for my business, I would probably just would. You know, give it up, like,
no,
I'll lose my cat eventually and I won't spend the money.
we don't want it to be so that people can't have the animals that they want, there has to be some other resolution and stuff, we're happy to
Yeah.
work towards that.
Yeah, but I'm not the only cat owner, like, I didn't petition people to see if there's anybody else, because I need a cat for my business.
Well,
That's why.
I don't think, yeah, so,
Sure.
anyway,
What
thank you.
if, just from my end, like, if we wanted to look at lake couches and kind of word our similarities. Like the cat is tagged and gets returned to the owner within the same day, et cetera. Should there be something about if the animal becomes a nuisance, like? Or?
How often is spooky visiting?
Well, I
Well,
don't.
we have to think, if it wasn't this cat, if it would be any other cat, any other.
I'm thinking of another
Okay.
instance, like, I know someone who had a cat, neighboring cat come over and it would constantly go in their.
There is still something in
Like,
here,
there's
Yeah.
certain.
Yeah, but if you chase the cat away the first time, they're not gonna come back,
Oh.
like if you say, oh, nice kitty, nice kitty.
Yeah, so
It's time to
actually-
go home now, bye.
the one I
Like, that's not how you,
the wording
that's
that
not
you
how you
provide from the
have it.
Cowichan actually says,
Yeah.
if they're at large, they're running at large, and then they're captured that they would be, I'm sorry, I'm starving. That's all. But I agree with you, there is a line in pretty much every bylaw that says, thou shall not. Let their cat or animal, whatever, irrespective of, what type, that they would let it become a. Nuisance, so, but then I was always wonder like, who decides it's a nuisance?
Well, then we have to, in the bylaw, learn we have to define nuisance. So, and which is doable, it's not the.
Yeah,
I think
okay,
that gives me another direction.
anyway, in the interest of time, we are going to move on, but thanks again, Peter, for coming.
okay, well,
Is there anything else that you would like that?
no, it's just that basically what I found anywhere is that. A cat is basically allowed to be outside, there's spayed or neutered. End of story, like, as far as like. Having license and chasing them down and impounding them if it's at large. At large just means outside, it doesn't mean like menace, if it's outside and it's neutered and you know the cat,
Yeah,
there shouldn't be a problem.
I mean,
Like there's no
Yeah.
overpopulation of cats in this town. They're pretty rare,
Yeah.
and that's all northern communities, that's normal things, like
Yeah.
cats are kind of rare,
okay,
and if they're a nuisance, it's not really a nuisance, it's like I'm trying to say, it's. The person is letting it be a nuisance, like some people like to complain. And, Karen, This name's not Karen, but, you know, like, if that's not a cat.
One of your neighbor's cat's name is though,
Oh, well,
which is really funny.
but the first time a cat comes in, you just gotta be proactive and say, get out of here,
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
and it's,
It should have never come to this.
Yeah,
well, it's one person. One person can raise up all the struggle, but also it's a good thing because now the bylaw is gonna get changed.
well, yeah,
So,
and I'm glad that it happened when it did because we already have the bylaw open.
Yeah.
Cause that's a bit of a process, of course,
Yeah.
so, yeah. Well, thanks again,
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to updates and
absolutely.
hopefully I don't have to. Lose. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
See you, Peter.
Okay, so, if everyone's comfortable, we'll move on. We'll discuss again on June 17th. Okay, you're good, all direction you need for.
I think that is, yeah.
So like couch in section 5, I think it was 5.
Oh, yeah, so it's in the emails out here.
I'll find it.
Yeah,
So there's that, and then if we have to define nuisance, we can wordsmith something
Yeah.
for that regard.
Yeah,
I think if that definition is already in that,
Oh,
yeah.
I'll just make sure that it captures what we
Just-
want to capture.
we want it succinct.
no, I'm just saying, I think it is already.
Okay, so we're gonna move right along to the CAO report. As mentioned, CAO Lockwood is away, but CAO Bergeron will provide the report.
Alright, so I just have a few project updates. Infrastructure project, with Norfolk. The in-ground infrastructure work is wrapping up and Norfolk is just dealing with the final project efficiencies. So, they should be wrapping up in the next couple of weeks. The tender is currently open for the installation of the BST on Francis Avenue and the areas dug up during the in-ground infrastructure work. We're currently waiting on a response from Ottawa on the application for phase 1B to the Canada Housing Infrastructure Fund. YG has applied to the ISIP for phase 1C with their proposed work starting in 2027. The application is currently in Ottawa for review and approval. Regarding the rec center renovations, administration and YG have submitted on a funding application through the Federal Green and Inclusive Community Buildings Program. This funding provides up to 25 million in funding. Initial review of the building investment has the full renovation of the rec center at approximately 55 million. However, the high priority issues would be fully addressed if we receive the GICD funding. This application was submitted on October 15th and we have not. For the HVAC project, Budget Heating is planning on starting the work in July and proposed to be completed by November. The work will replace all of the rec center HVAC and manual air handlers and the NLP unit. For the dry hydrants project, administration is currently searching funding options to be presented to council later this year. However, if funding is located, the environmental assessment could take up to a year, so this will be a 2026 budget item. Francis Avenue project, so the administration was briefed by YG and they have completed lot appraisal comparison. They prepared a submission to go to the government management board to set the final lot purchase prices. They're still waiting for an installation date from ATCO for the power. Substantial completion of the lift station is currently scheduled for the week of June 16th. At the water treatment plant for the boiler project, they are currently being installed. The cemetery work is currently underway to complete the new plots and landscaping with work scheduled to be completed by the end of the month. Our playground project is slated to be completed this spring, summer. And the staff have been meeting with the contractor. I believe the last update we got is the shipment will arrive in July. The work on the dog park will be completed this summer as well. The rec center backup boilers, so administration is still working with the engineers on the design for the system, which will then produce the tender documents. Administration is currently working with FCM on a funding stream that starts in July, which could potentially free up CCDF money for other projects. For the flagpoles, administration has ordered the new flagpoles and council has a new flag policy and questions before you regarding the location of the new poles. Wylie Trail and Signpost Woods Trail. Our environmental assessment has been completed by YESA with only 2 minor conditions being recommended. Our consultants testing and eDNA sampling, which confirmed that Wylie is not a fish bearing water. The results have been forwarded to the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, who responded confirming the results. Our application for the Active Transportation Fund is currently under review. Once funding is confirmed, permit applications will be submitted. An update regarding the dump truck incident. The insurance adjustment has been completed and arrangements are being made to send the truck to Prince George for repairs. There is going to be a scoping project on the Force Main, which is going to take place this fall to determine the condition and location of our sewer Force Main, which runs from the lift station to the septic receiving station. This project is being funded by YG. And on the half plan project, work on the banking/mortgage initiative is currently underway, with a report slated to be presented at the June 17th council meeting. And then campus staff, that I give a couple updates on our recreational programs. Our pool is now open. And with our new staff, we're able to offer lessons. We've had really good attendance and we're open 6 days a week. Good attendance for public swim as well as aquafit and lane swim. We've had school bookings so far in the last couple of weeks because we were able to open early this year. And 68 spots filled for lessons so far. Yeah, we currently have 5 people registered for Bond Star, which is going to start in the next week, and 10 for swim team. So
It's amazing. It's awesome.
Good, yeah.
And at the rec center, I'm sure you've all seen the advertisements, but we are offering an after-school program currently. Summer adventure program will start as soon as school is done. And we have a fitness program going as well. Lots of programs coming for the summer.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sounds like there's lots of things happening. That's great to see. Does anyone have any questions right now for regarding the CAO report or anything stemming from it? Okay. Hearing none, thank you very much. And we will move on, and of course, if you think of anything, we have shortly. So next up, we have an admin report with regard to the new flag protocol policy. Sorry, I just need to organize my tabs here. Okay, so the purpose of this admin report is to seek input from council on a flag protocol policy and determine where new flag poles will be installed. The financial implications of this are that the purchase of 2 new flag poles were approved in the 2025 capital budget in the amount of $12,000. So it has been determined by mayor and council and town administration that a flag protocol policy is needed to establish guidelines for the flying of flags at municipal owned facilities and standards for processing requests related to flag flying. The town has been asked to fly a Liard First Nation flag along with the Canadian, Yukon, and municipal government flags in front of the municipal office. The town also receives requests from the public to fly flags for special interest groups, public awareness, campaigns, proclamations, and flag raising ceremonies. Currently, there are 3 flag poles located at the town office, which fly the Canada, Yukon, and municipal flags. Additionally, there are 3 flag poles located at the recreation center, which are various locations around the building, front, back, side, I think, currently flying the Canada, Yukon, and municipal flags. And there's also a flag pole at Wildlife Park, flying the Canada flag, and there's also a municipal flag on top of the gazebo. So administration has ordered 2 additional flag poles and has been researching other municipal flag policies. Admin is seeking council's input on the policy contents in hopes of having the policy finalized in time for the installation of the 2 new flag poles this summer. So the policy will address the following: general flag etiquette and displaying of flags, the order for which flags will be flown following the national protocol, the location of the flags being flown, when it is appropriate to fly multiple flags on one flagpole, etc. Will also include special occasion or special interest flags. Excuse me, the application process, who approves and where they are flown, etc. Will include half masting, the process and when flown, likely to follow Canada and YG protocols. And will also include responsibilities and maintenance of flags, who is responsible for the raising and lowering, and the maintenance and disposal of flags. So administration seeks direction in the following areas. In past meetings, council has discussed designating 1 pole for LFN flag and 1 for special interest groups, awareness campaigns, etc. Is this still the direction that council would like to take, or are there other ideas? So why don't we just go through question by question? That's the first question. And we'll just go around the table. Why don't we start with Thomas?
Alright, I'd like to see the 1 pole added to the 3 other ones, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4. All in 1 spot, and then the special interest group flag, cause it won't fit where it's at, but the 1 will fit there, so they can have all 4. And then, for various things, like the special interest flag, at Cote d'Ivoire. The other side of the sidewalk perhaps, where it would fit nicely.
Okay, thank you.
Will we purchase the special interest flagpole? Will they purchase it?
So
Will it
the
be a
pole-
rental?
So the pole we purchased, we will be purchasing it and installing it. They will provide the flag from what I understand.
And will we rent it out or will we just?
No.
That's the
So
charge?
they'll come in and they will, usually in rec. Well, this is what we need to decide, what the process is. I read through the city of Whitehorse, I read through Dawson's flag policy and injunction, and it seems that, you know, a letter is written to council just saying, you know, this is our group or our event or our awareness thing. You know, will you fly the flag for X amount of time or from these dates or whatever it is, and then we just decide at council whether or not we're gonna do that. And then it just allows for a specific poll for that, and it's called like a courtesy poll or a special use poll.
Right.
Because we ran into a situation, I know the city of Whitehorse did as well, in the last couple of years. Causing them to also update their policy, but we ran out of room, we wanted to fly a special interest flag. And there is some protocols out there where you can put it beneath the municipal flag, but that doesn't always sit right with a lot of people, so I inquired what the city of Whitehorse does, or did, because they just renewed this, I think in 2023. And they said that what they just put more poles up, so that they were able to fly the flag of First Nation government as well as the special interest group, so yeah, we kind of spawned us to start talking about it here as well. So, do you have any more on that? Okay.
I do agree with, just in coming in, I would like the idea of having kind of the flags sort of all in the same area, like we have the 3 there, if there's room to have the 4, that could be for the First Nation flag, and then the others, if we have to put the pole on like the other side of the sidewalk, wherever it fits in, kind of in line with them, then that could be the special,
Yeah,
the flag for the special.
yeah, I agree, and then just looking at what I guess the protocols typically are for, like, if you have 3 flags, Canada's supposed to be in the middle, and then you would have the other ones on the outside, but if you're having more than 3 and up to 5, it's supposed to go Canada, Yukon, First Nation flag, municipal flag, and then special interest, but like Councilor Slager mentioned, we don't have room for all of that, so I agree with what's being said about having the 4 in the center spot there, and then moving the special interest flag. I still think it needs to be at the admin building, because I think there's just something really powerful about having that, and symbolic about having that at our main building. But I think maybe just on the other side of the town Watson Lake municipal sign there, like this, on the other side, there's like lots of room. I think might be the way to go. So that's kind of how I'm feeling. It sounds like we're pretty much all on the same page there.
Can someone refresh my memory, what kind of flag situation is at the rec center?
So there is, there, I didn't show you photos. There was photos in there, but there's the one just on this side of the ball diamond. That has, I think Town Watson Lake flag.
One, yeah.
And then there's one at the very back of the rec center, like almost in where all the equipment is. And it's just and these are just small, they're not like standard flagpole size, they're just, yeah. And I think that was also Town Watson Lake flag. And then there's one over on the like hurling side, and I think that one's Canada flag, but I could be.
Gotcha, so there's not the opportunity to have 5 in a row, is what I was thinking is.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't think so.
That's okay.
And then the one at Y Lake, the one above the gazebo is the Town Watson Lake flag, and then I think there's a Canada flag, again, one of those smaller yellow poles, just over kind of by the pond there.
Understood.
Yeah, so, okay, sounds like we're all inside with that. And it looks like so the second question, I'll just read it just for the record, but it sounds like we already answered this, but where would council like to see the new flag poles installed? The 3 poles located at municipal office have room on either side of them, but space is limited in this area. There's also space on the other side of the building, front east side, and images were provided in the package. The previous council also discussed the possibility of installing special interest flagpoles at other town facilities, for example, the White Lake Cabin. So we kind of just answered that already. Would council like the highway flags and banners to be included in this policy, or would a separate policy be more appropriate? Most municipal policies that we've found only apply to flags flown on poles at facilities or buildings, but and then whether or not we have anything else that we would like to address in this policy. I think that, and maybe I just didn't notice, but I don't feel like anybody else flies other flags like we do.
I agree, that's what I was thinking, that's what I was just commenting on when I came in, I don't think anybody else has them flown on their highways. But I also think that, I think it would be nice to just mention something in here about what we would like flags on the highway. Because if we have a special flagpole for special groups, then I think then the ones along the highway, which are predominantly all countries, should just be countries. And allow, because right now we have the pride flag, and that's the only other flag that's being flown in amongst the country flags. That one can be put up, like, they could put their own up where they have their garden happening for that area. Or, and then 5 months, they could certainly petition and put one up.
I'm in agreement with you, Councilor Paquette. Yeah, exactly, so, yeah, you said everything I wanted to say, so,
I don't think it has to be
Yeah,
anything
support.
big, just, like what we're gonna fly on the highway, and then that's it, kind of thing.
well, after learning about flags and how the certain order and I understand how
Deal.
how it can hold, such. It is big deal.
Meaningful for,
Thanks for that word, I was searching, it is very meaningful to people, and then just the countries have their place out there, just as. The special interest flag will also have a place, and we're going by the flag standards set up by all across Canada. We're not reinventing anything, we're gonna to do everything in a very respectful way, so, yes.
And I think it's really welcoming too, like when we're the, gateway to the Yukon, it's welcoming to see that, the flags, like we're saying, come, we're welcoming you, and I do like that, so, yeah.
Norma, did you want to add anything to that? No. You're in agreement? Yeah, cool. I'm also in agreement with that. I think, yeah, if we have a dedicated area for special interest flag. Does anyone have any thoughts just on the side about the flags that are currently being flown at the other facilities? I'm honestly kind of okay with the flags that are currently being flown there. I don't know if you guys agree or not. I just think that the flagpoles are not, very big. And there's also one actually at Cypress Forest. Whose flag is that?
I actually don't know, I did take a picture of it, but I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if it's actually, so that's a huge
Well, and I
one,
think the flags,
but I have no idea
Like,
if that's ours,
Is it something Monty?
because that one's a big one, actually.
No, it's a huge one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it official?
I could look into it.
It'd be interesting to know whose it is, and if it's ours, then maybe we should include it in here. Yeah. What else?
We desperately need to have a Regional Matters flag for September.
Yeah, so if we could acquire that, and the other thing that I wanted to add was if we can also add it here. So if we can add another, another here, so we can
stand.
have. So it'll be the same protocol outside.
Yeah.
In chambers as it is outside.
Okay.
That would be,
That's great, that's what's next on my list.
yeah. And then the only other thing that, we noticed in one of the other bylaws, I think, in City Whitehorse maybe, but I don't know if it's as big of a deal here, but it seems like because, and actually I do want, would like this to be reflected in the bylaw or policy about when they will be replaced, because sometimes they get really tattery and that doesn't look good.
It doesn't.
And I know it's just the wind and stuff, but it sounds like, and this will segue for what I was gonna say before. It sounds like other places, and I feel like it might have been Whitehorse, but they just keep a stock of all these flags. And that there is also the option there for the community to rent them if they need them for something. If they're having their own ceremony or whatever, and I don't know if that's ever been an issue here. But that and they are required to make a deposit. And then if the flag is returned in good condition, you know, whatnot, because we can still use it again after, of course. If it's returned in good condition, then they just get their deposit back. So I don't know if that needs to be included in fees and charges, or if that would be completely different. I just thought, well, funny, we're also reviewing that one right now. So, anyway, Councilor Slaker and I were just gonna chat about that earlier, so, that was all I really had to add. I'm sure we'll be seeing this again, so, I think if there's anything else that we think we can add it later, do you need anything else from us to get rolling on that? Okay, great. So we will move along then. Thank you everybody for your input on that. I think it's a really important, thing that we needed to do. Next up, we have the fees and charges amendment bylaw, 2025-04. I do not have a new admin report since the last one that we reviewed. This is the one updated on April 10th, 2025.
And I think you guys hashed out most things, but Councilor Paquette did come with some comments about the landfill and cemetery that you guys wanted to discuss a bit further.
The landfill, in particular was just the scrap metal, it was like $5, I think it was said it was $5. It was too low, whatever it was. The number was $5 and somewhere around 30.
Is that all it was just that one? I'm not opposed with us being on par with the territory standard.
Which is, I think 40. When the comparison it was $5.40, whatever it was the big discrepancy, and you just all that. However, with the cemetery bylaw or the cemetery charges, I feel that they are perfectly fine just where they're at. Once again, you have so many costs, when a loved family member dies, I mean. I feel like you pay enough taxes when you're alive that you shouldn't get hit when you're dead too. We're not looking to make money off of someone's death, and I feel that is kind of wrong of us. Even meeting costs, there's some, like, we don't need, like, recreation. We don't charge people $70 to go swimming when that's what be the actual cost to upkeep the pool. There's some things out there that are just kind of sacred, and I think that that's one of them, whereas. You know, we're charging for the encasement, we're charging to dig the hole, the interment, the plot itself.
Overtime, wages.
Yeah, there's that too, and we're charging for that, and, you know, all in, you know. We might be missing out on what, $500 a dig? And times that by what, maybe one a month? If that's.
I agree with you on that. I feel like,
There's
There's
other places we could save $5,000 if we needed it.
yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. I also would like to remind everyone that we have committed to reviewing this every single year. So we'll be having
Yeah.
the same discussion next year.
And I'll still feel the same way.
But, and I know you will, but I'm just saying if, you know, we're looking at our financial situation at budget time or whatever, and we're like, I don't know. If it needs review, then that's another thing, but I do agree with you. I think that that's probably one of the last things that we should be ever looking at. Adjusting, but I'm sorry, did you wanna add anything on that? So that's how I'm feeling about that, and as far as the landfill, if we're talking about that one line about the thing to bring us with territory standards, I'm in agreement with that. And I'm just trying to find the number
I
again.
found Yukon Governments, so for
'Cause they did
ground
this re-
metal, they just redid theirs to $143 per ton.
Ooh, and so what is ours, 20?
Ours is much lower. Ours
Are we looking at?
She's looking at the scrap metal cost, and that's
Scrap
what.
metal? Ours
She's
is
looking at white words.
70 kilogram, white horse was. 140.
We are-
And ours is 100.
So right now, we're $5 a load, up to 70 kilograms.
Yeah.
Over 70 kilograms, we're $110 a ton.
Okay, so we're not even actually that much lower, 120 per ton versus 110. So. Okay.
Theirs is 143.
143 per ton, and ours is 110 per ton.
Yeah,
So
so
it's-
it's scrap metal small, theirs is $40 and ours is 5.
Yeah, I think just to circle back to what Cam said, the one time that we are encouraging people to
Defer.
utilize your local
Sure.
collector.
So if you make it a little bit higher, then
The
people
people
would be
deter.
more inclined to.
So do we wanna raise them to match the white horse rate for scrap metals, or what?
Well, let's ease into it, 30.
20, 30?
Okay, so for a small, do you wanna up $5
Yeah.
to 30?
20.
20, sorry,
Let's start there.
And we'll get it next year.
the large is 110. And did you wanna raise that? For you guys,
140.
110 to 120, we'll ease it.
110 to 120?
Yeah, okay.
It's a standard shot.
I am. Seems to be
That's
a
okay.
disagreement.
Feelings?
Oh, I mean,
It's fine. You know, I'm just, when I looked at it, I was just comparing what they had compared to what we had, but like I said, it's difficult because. White Horse has a whole list of different
I
things
know,
that we
I
don't
know.
capture, and that's okay. We could capture all that, so I was just looking at what we had compared to like what they have.
Mhm.
I think other than that, I mean, every other amendment, you guys just had a question about. Something said per. Unit instead of per day, so that was changed. Like for the rec center equipment rentals,
Okay. Oh, it was around, yes, some equipment or something, I
Yeah.
recall it again.
so that was amended, and then. Other than that, I don't think you guys had any other
Okay.
comments.
The other one is the bulk items, I mean, when they talk about bulk items, we have $11 and White Horse is like $50. Bulk items.
You're talking about the landfill again?
Yeah, and so like the bulk items, they're talking about like people that are bringing like couches and that kind of thing, like those big heavy.
I'd like to keep it where it's at, because if you.
Put it in the bush.
Yeah, that's exactly.
No, I'm just
Yeah.
saying that that's another one that there was a big discrepancy on, so I'm not
I'd like to
saying we
keep
need to
it.
make any changes.
Just for that reason.
I'm just putting it out there that those were some of the big discrepancies.
Okay, thanks for flagging that. Okay, so any further discussion on this right now? I guess what happens after today is it will go for a reading.
The only thing, so it's gone through second, so it's pretty much ready to go, but we were, remember, gonna hold off. Just in case, there was changes to the business license file.
Oh, yes, of course. Okay, yeah, so. If you'll make that like couple of little amendments, and then we're actually just gonna put this on ice for a minute until we finish the business license bylaw review, and then, that way we don't have to reopen the fees and charges bylaw, just to, make the amendments from the business license bylaw, so.
And talking about ice, we have somebody that comes down and removes the, Freon, is that what it is that's in fridges that needs to be removed?
Yes. So although
We
white,
have somebody in town that does that?
Is that how
what happens, Council Paquette is, all the big, like the fridges or refrigerants, anything with Freon in it, they store it at the dump. And then they bring a specialist down that gets it all at once before they dispose of them, so that they do take care of that.
Okay,
Yeah, but we have to pay somebody to come and do that.
Which is why we have, there's also with the manufacturer's responsibility, like there's some money that we get for each fridge from some program, I don't really recall exactly what it is at this moment. But, we do have an individual fee that is indicative of the costs accrued. Isn't that right? But yes. Yeah, it does happen.
Okay, I was done about that.
awesome. Okay, great. So if there's no further discussion right now, we will move along. Next up, we have the building commitment restriction bylaw 2025-05. You'll recall from last meeting, CEO Lockwood explained that this is a bylaw that's required for us to be able to hold government's feet to the fire to enforce their own rule about people having to develop within a certain time frame on property that's being sold by the Yukon government land, so that we can encourage development to actually happen rather than having people sit on vacant land when we need it to be developed. So did everyone have a chance to review this? Does anyone have any comments on it? I think it's like pretty straightforward.
I'm okay with it.
As is. Okay,
Yeah, I think this one probably doesn't need to come back to committee of the whole, so it can just come for reading.
yeah,
I think, CAO Lockwood was hoping that you guys would be comfortable doing second and third at the
That's fine.
June 17th meeting, so that it's passed in time for the restaurants.
Yeah. I can't see us having a problem with that, or that being an issue. Okay, yeah, sounds good. Okay, so if there's no questions or comments on that. Okay, we'll move on. It'll go for second, third and final, second and third and final. At the next a regular meeting on June 17th. So next up, as mentioned earlier, we have the business license bylaw 2025-06. And this, I think, is the first time we're really discussing it. We did do a first reading so that it could go to the public and so we could move along in the process. But this is the first time we've had it at committee of the whole. So let me just pull mine up. Who would like to start us on the discussion? Go for it.
The one in particular for, so the, I skipped the first one. The first part that said the gray area for minor business activities, such as artisans, Tupperware parties, candle parties, yada.
What page you on, sorry?
I'm on the admin report. Which is-
Oh, excuse me.
Oh, yeah, there's also we've also the action.
Oh, well, let me read the admin report. My apologies, I missed that entirely. Did I read it last time?
That was,
Oh, I read that last time,
Yeah.
okay,
that was brought forward.
yeah, okay. I will not read that again.
Yeah.
You already have.
Yeah, that's fine, yeah. That's right.
Yeah, so that admin report was from a while ago. Just there for reference. So I had a question that I was hoping that Ben could clarify, just because I wanted to make sure that I really fully understand this. Where it says about multiple businesses operating under one business or whatever that was. I'm just trying to find that that section. Oh, right here. Any person who carries more than one business in or from any one premise or location in the towns shall obtain a separate license for each business for the purpose of this bylaw where a business is carried on in or from any more than one premise in a town. Each premise shall be deemed a separate business. I was just curious. What exact example of that?
Like an example, or even like,
Restaurant in the middle.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, so it is, so it's two
Tags,
types of,
tags with the laundromat. and-
okay, cause I wasn't sure, is that like having two businesses, like maybe with, you know, people get like the number of companies or whatever, like if that, if it meant like something like that, or if it was like, but it's different types of business with stuff you're doing, grocery
The
and
same
artwork.
establishment, the same building.
Okay.
well, it kind of addresses two different things, so like. If we think way back to the Belvedere, how they had, the Lakers was a separate business from the Belvedere, but they both had to have a separate license.
Right.
And then the next point to that is one business that operating multiple different types of businesses.
Oh, I see.
So they're kind of two different things.
Yeah, and then for anybody listening, the proposal is not that they would need a completely separate, primary or separate license, but that it would just be an add-on to their primary license for, at a rate of approximately $25 to $50 depending on the week. So it wouldn't be like a whole new license.
I'm curious too, would this only pertain to if it's in the same building? Like, for instance, you have Ernie who has the supply store. And then he also owns.
So you need one for each of those places, yeah.
But those are separate buildings, so those would be completely separate licenses, I'm full, right?
That's how it reads right now, yeah.
And so, but that will change for him.
No,
That's not.
We're proposing that.
things that are operating in the
Exactly.
same,
If it's in the same.
so if you're doing
Like Andrea's has the restaurant. the
Yeah,
hotel,
food
the bar,
service,
the
and
grocery,
But it's all in
Whatever,
the same building.
Back to really other than tags and.
Clinic.
The hotels, clinic,
Oh, I guess, yeah.
convenience stores, the clinic,
So it'd be a gas station and a convenience store type of?
no, if you look on the last page, we kind of broke the categories down into like retail sales.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
You know, restaurants, like the categories are being called broad enough. Like, we're not gonna say if you sell groceries and you sell cigarettes, those are two different retail or
Right.
just two different
Right.
categories, that's retail
Right.
sales.
Mhm.
If that makes sense.
And that's to allow the municipality to know exactly what types of activities are occurring. And so, right, this is part of the,
But in the bylaw there, it has like, so a vendor's fee for like. Events at Wildlife Park, but then it has like, another section for exemptions for nonprofit organizations. Like garage sales, bake sales, etc., but like those, that's pretty much what's going on at Wildlife Park. Hmm,
Like, you're talking about like the vendors and minor businesses, and those types of little.
yeah, I'm just uncomfortable with like, so if you're the organizer and you're organizing, a park day or something, and you have, or cystic fibrosis, let's go with this. A real life example. And somebody is selling T-shirts for CF nonprofit. Somebody else has some homemade, cookies, jams, pastries, whatever, so they would be there as well, and then somebody, you know, like. I'm uncomfortable with. You know, if there was somebody organizing it. From $5 from each person, I guess would cover the cost of it, but it's just like splitting hairs, and I just.
oh, there is a whole section on
I
exemptions,
would say that was addressed, isn't it?
and that's in there.
I know, so we have exemptions here, but in the bylaw itself,
So
it has something different.
by looking at the draft rate,
What we propose,
Includes services, include business and short orders.
what we propose is that the organizer would get
Right.
a license.
And then charge the vendors $5 to set up their table, so it's kind of.
Or eat the cost or whatever, but that's the proposal. So you guys can decide if that's okay or not.
the only other, I mean. Just switching gears a little bit, I have to pull you guys up for that, or if you're.
I don't know, I just find it more paperwork, more like, just more bothersome than it needs. to be.
Yeah,
I can kind of explain where bylaws coming from. These are bylaw recommendations, and one thing that the administration finds frustrating is we don't always feel that everyone's on the same playing field. So like someone who does pop-up baking might get a license and then the lady down the road doesn't. And who do we say, how do we pick and choose when you get a license and when you don't?
Gotcha.
That's kind of the gray area we're trying to.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with the, licensing waiver requirement, I guess I just wanna see those fees quite low.
Yeah.
I understand, and I understand the reasons behind it.
And there are other issues that could pop up, like you said, somebody's doing home baking.
Right.
What if somebody gets sick from that home baking?
Right.
That's,
Pardon me?
I guess that's risky too, but no,
No, no,
But that kind of
still,
brings me to this next thing I wanted to ask about, which is this liability insurance component.
got a license and another person didn't. And somebody gets sick from the person that didn't, and, you know, I
will the
mean,
license change whether they're sick or not?
No.
not necessarily, but I mean. I don't know, I'm just thinking that. I think it should be fair and the same
Councilor
for.
Puckett, that you open up the door for people to be all nitpicky, or if you just said, you know what, you have a small business that doesn't make $1,000 a year, then you're like exempt.
See, we wanted to keep finances out of it. Like, we didn't wanna say, if you make under $1,000, cause we don't wanna have to ask people.
I think even if it's like $10, like, just the
Yeah.
fact that matters, yeah, it's not becoming a register as a vendor, I don't think that's a big deal. Like, you would have to have that for any market that you went to, and I mean, what would make it even better is an online option. You know, where you could just,
Mhm.
you know, do it quickly, cause I don't think that that's like a huge,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, like. Even if there
Don't
was.
get me wrong, we scratched our head.
It's, I mean, it's one of those things, right, like, where do you draw that line?
Cause I get what you're saying about how, you know, like the cost could be burdensome for people, but I mean. Just registering as a vendor and a very small fee, like it's no different than paying the table at the.
At the craft
At
fair,
the
yeah.
craft fair, and you still have to register for that, you know,
You
so.
pay $10 a table there, I get that,
I think it might also allow you, maybe a part of that was,
is
you
there
know, if we had a list of local vendors on our website. And it would allow you to be listed on there in case people
By
don't know. how to
registering and
register.
getting a business license, do they receive any sort of like newsletter or any sort of special privileges with regard?
That's what I'm just saying, if we like maybe advertise them on the website or.
The only thing right now is our business license holders do get added to our business directory. Would be the only perk.
Could there be a section in that where it's just like vendors, local vendors? Rather than businesses, and it was just like, you know, if you register for your vendor license, we'll add you to this thing, and then if. You know, somebody's out there like ever looking for like, hey, we're all the bakers in town, they could like, look at this list or whatever. And that can be part of your like $10 a year or whatever. I mean, it's some value. Anyway, my other question is just about this liability insurance. Just where it says on public land or town property where the town is not organizing the event, so that's only on town
So
property.
Counselor Puckett brought this up.
Like Wiley
She
Park.
was asking about like Norfolk doing work on our streets, do we make sure that they're insured? Another section that we added in there is like, someone comes to town with a carnival or amusement park,
Okay.
do they have liability?
And 100%, I agree with that, I mean, especially if we have people work on our water systems, that's a huge deal. And in
Yeah,
fact, that number's probably low in that
but we're
regard,
not asking like every business who gets a license to prove they have insurance, that's on their property,
but, okay.
it's on
But like,
public.
but I guess I'm wondering like for farmers market and stuff like that,
Oh,
you know what I mean, 'cause it's technically on our property, but they're not really doing work there. Cause I 100% without question agree with for people that are doing that stuff like that, absolutely.
Especially with our infrastructure.
It just,
what I could do is put
You know what I
it as
mean?
an exemption.
like the person filling the closet can and may or whatever.
Yes. And that definitely wasn't the intent, it's
Yeah.
not like a big,
Wouldn't they be already?
So last week what I had
Oh,
is thinking in my mind, so.
so I read that as exempt from the
Needing a license.
needing a license, but
Yes.
you're right.
The person gets a license. We might need
the
the
insurance.
insurance.
Thank you.
Okay, we should have already in there.
Sorry, that's what I was thinking in my mind, so if somebody's at Wild Park, which is town property, selling bread. They poison somebody, are we liable?
No,
Not liable.
I don't think so. Because they follow
Is it our responsibility to make sure that they're being safe? It's like.
No, it's, health and safety has, health and safety has guidelines out of what is allowed to be sold and what's not. And then I think after that, it's kind of a little bit of at your own risk.
And we're actually talking about creating a brochure pamphlet that we give out to businesses of all the checklists that they need to have. And Whitehorse actually has one that we're kind of piggybacking off of. And one of theirs talks about the requirement to get a license or a permit with public health.
Because there are certain things, for sure, I think it's if there's anything with dairy, if there's any pet meat or anything like that, you do have to have, food safe kitchen and all that. There's a bunch of requirements like
That
that.
was kind of what I was thinking, where does their responsibility end and ours start? Kind of thing, you
See,
know?
after.
At what? Well, that's okay.
After reading a little further, because I was driving, not reading the fine print. I do not enjoy, endorse the business license exemptions under 7.01 that has like garage sales and like one-time little things like that, and so I'm happy to see that, and that actually squashes my concerns right now with the other stuff, so I'm okay with that. How much would the secondary, did I miss this? How much is the secondary uses on the original, that piggyback off license, say like tags, will be restaurant, laundromat, RV park?
Originally, I said in here, we're looking at 25 to 50. The Shannon actually brought forward in our current bylaw right now, a secondary license would be 75. So it's really up to council's discretion if they think that's high for a secondary license. You can talk about lowering it. It's really up to you guys what you feel is appropriate for.
I like the idea of it not being 75. I
Being a
think
little
that's a
bit
bit
lower.
higher.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
The other one is what, 2 years?
And do they have to get one for each little component, like 50 for the restaurant, 50 for the gas, 50?
Technically.
Well, it could be
That's
whatever.
the way this reads, yes.
So, I mean, if we're going just by the sections in here, it'd be 1, 2, 3. Things. Well, which one is like
So it's not very
specific
good,
or
like- 25?
basic retail?
$25 for each one extra? Or what do you think?
I mean,
Or not have it at all?
no, I think we have it. I think businesses are making money off what they're selling, they're in the run of the business, they
Yeah.
should be paying for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Valid point.
I agree, I think it should be high, 75,
50?
I agree, so,
You think it should be 50?
no, I said, I think it should be higher than 75, we
Oh.
are proposing 75.
For a secondary license.
That's too much, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think I also don't want to deter.
people from expanding their current business.
I will look this up real quick, sorry, keep talking amongst yourselves.
Well, we have more time to talk about the fee, because the fee's actually not to be working with the.
Okay,
business law,
okay,
everyone's gonna
you're right.
be charged.
Okay, thank you. So I need to think about the fees a little bit.
Yeah, that one will be interesting because to see how much you're gonna charge for a single and then what, so, yeah. I know you have yours, I'm seeing some, but
I mean, could we look
for
at
activity or the thought.
footage of the secondary business and.
Some bylaws have that, the fees are based on the square footage of the business or the types of business, like if you look at, I think I included Fort Nelson's in there. Theirs is like, their fees are very much based on the type of business it is, it's not a standard business license fee, it's like this much for this type. So it just, fortunate to have that.
Hasbro was so outdated, irrelevant, that the business license. Decided to review this in the first place.
Mostly it was the minor business activities is what sparked that.
There was a lot of inconsistencies about who was required and who wasn't, and then.
And honestly, we couldn't even answer the public because the bylaw didn't speak to it, so we were struggling with saying, yes, you need a license or no, you don't,
I'm just-
whereas we're hoping that's clear.
This will have some sort of document that we can.
Sometimes there's dollars this section has for.
Here we go, so maybe something that makes sense and is fair and isn't just like,
No, it says markets around,
making a carcass.
community events, restaurants, food vendors and stuff, but. I just wasn't sure if I were missing on that.
It's 125, you said for the initial,
Yes.
so then yeah, 75 is maybe a little too much.
Just in the
Yeah,
regulations or whatever.
I think that's just listed in the appendix.
Okay,
Other types.
does there need to be a thing in that section about it, or is that adequate having it in that other section?
right back with the cat, business
Yeah.
category.
Yeah, because up here where it says specific business regulations, oh, because there's no regulations around it. These ones just have special, maybe can scroll down for now.
Yeah, there was just certain types of businesses like childcare facilities.
My apologies, I didn't actually see this page right at the bottom, I saw appendix A, I didn't see appendix B, so my apologies, it is in there, so, okay, so ignore that.
And that's a pretty broad list too, like if you guys obviously don't want a business license, businesses to death, we could condense that category list too, like maybe you wanna lump some of those together into one category, or.
When will we be talking about this again?
Whatever you like.
I'm going on first reading. Um. Is not having this done interfering with operations at this time?
No, it's just the only thing that's pending is the fees and charges, so.
Right, so. Okay,
Yeah, we won't calculate it until December.
okay.
And as it stands, like, we're not really enforcing, or, you know, if someone sees that someone's online selling slippers, no one's really enforcing that right now because it's kind of unclear, so.
Can we do a reading on a bylaw in principle, knowing that we're going to adjust the fees and charges component later, like we could. I feel like we did it with cemetery bylaw.
Yeah,
we
because
just did that.
They're technically separate,
It's separate bylaws.
you could, in theory, adopt the bylaw and then discuss the fees and charges, and then they'll.
Okay, in that case, I would be, if you are all in agreement, be comfortable taking this to second reading at the June 17th meeting in the interest of moving that process along. Yeah, and we can also have a quick discussion as well if anyone has anything to add at that time. Thomas, I just suggested that we move the business license bylaw to June 17th meeting for second reading. And then we can approve it in principle and discuss the fees when we discuss the fees and charges bylaw.
Sounds like an excellent plan.
Okay, great, so.
Then, okay, bring the regular, then it'll go to the August cow.
Yeah.
Okay,
Actually, people are not just about me.
well, you're having an August meeting.
August meeting, so August 19th.
Yeah, 18th or whatever it is.
Sounds good. Okay, so that brings us to the last thing tonight, and that is first and second reading of the community services grant bylaw. Were you hoping to get this motion tonight, or is this just that we can do it at the next meeting?
It's
We need to wrap it up
it's not first and second, so it can be finalized, doesn't it?
Okay,
In time for property tax deadline.
okay, got you. Okay, so we are looking for a motion tonight. And it's not our usual protocol, but in the interest of, like Tiffany said, getting things done before the tax cutoff. So the purpose of this report is to advise council of the applications received for the community services grant. Our finance person has reviewed the reports received and have outlined the eligible amounts below, and has also attached the applications for reference. So you can see the amounts and the implicated financial implication. So a little background, in 2021, council created the community services grant policy so that we can review the financials of each organization when determining eligibility for tax forgiveness. So the recommendation from finance is to approve the community services grant for nonprofit associations based on the information provided in their applications. And in the package, which is why the package was 44 pages. There are all of the applications from the nonprofits that are seeking some grant forgiveness, or sorry. You know what I mean, grant for taxes. Any comments, questions, concerns with this? Any questions about any of the applications? I do not. I
No,
don't
I
have
have
my
a motion.
So
I'll make a motion to approve first and second reading of the community services grant bylaw.
thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Council, or Paquette, excuse me. So if there's no further, discussion, I'll call a question. All in favor of passing first and second? Okay, and that will pass unanimously. Thank you very much. And that brings us to, Councilor Open Forum, if anyone has anything that they'd like to add. Or share with us.
Yeah, you guys just came back from Ottawa, what do you want? What is nice?
Yeah, I'll share that Councillor Slater and myself attended the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Annual Conference and Trade Show in Ottawa last week. Thomas, I mean, we're always whatever, representing, I don't know what I'm trying to say, always representing Lochlan Lake, but Thomas was there on behalf of our council and I was there on behalf of the Association of Yukon Communities. Of course, we are a member, and it was really good, lots of really rural focused content this year, which was really great. Of course, my favorite part is the networking that is done between elected officials across the country. Also had an opportunity to meet with some MPs while we were there. And what else?
What were the hot topics? Tariffs, I'm assuming.
Yes, tariffs, rural infrastructure, big focus on that. I attended some wildfire sessions. The first 100 days post-election and what's gonna be happening with the government. I was thought I'd talk about that. And housing, of course.
It's just funny how the same problems exist for all municipalities all across
I
Canada.
say coast to coast to coast.
Yes,
That's the
the
saying.
But even from, each the eccentric few that make up a town that make it good its little quirks, and it was funny hearing about each person, each town's person and or people. And it was just nice to connect with people. The food is terrible.
Yeah.
For the record. It would kill them to have just a ham and cheese sandwich, just keep it simple. But
A lot of quinoa.
yeah, there was quinoa and lentil salad and stuff like that, and sweets that would like kill a diabetic and just. Anyway, the food is nice, but other than that, the seminars were engaging, and I had to see their water treatment plant and how they go through it, and like the training that they have to go through, and how how they're taking things from that were built in the 1920s and adapting them to today's world and utilizing infrastructure. And just certain ideas, good ideas, no matter where they come from, are still good ideas. So it was nice to see and hear other people's thoughts on what ideas could happen.
We also had the opportunity to participate in a Northern and Remote Roundtable. So what happens at the FCM AGM is that all the provinces have elections to vote people onto the board of directors for FCM. In the Yukon, we only have one affiliate member, which is the president of the association. So we don't have elections. So during that time, all of the territories come together and we had just a really very informal conversation just about priorities and things that, you know, that are priorities for our areas. And with the purpose being that FCM is working on a paper that will allow for us. What is the term? Guide focused advocacy around issues that are very specific to the North. A really important conversation that's happening right now is around Arctic security and Arctic sovereignty. So that's I would say the biggest component of this, but as well as all the infrastructure needs to support that and mental health and wellness and obviously community safety and crime being a big part of that as well. So that was a conversation that we were able to take part in and that we will continue to have at the Northern and Remote Forum, which of course happens quarterly. So, and any member of our territorial associations are allowed to attend those to participate in the discussion. So I will always remind you guys when that forum is happening, as it looks like I'll be chairing that forum again this year. So yes.
Well,
So-
thank you for attending, Thomas, it was great.
It was really good. Next year it's gonna, so next year it's gonna be in Edmonton. So, just throwing that out there, it's a little bit closer to home, it's not so far. So if anybody, is interested in attending, we can certainly talk about that around, budget time, so we can make sure that we, prepare for that. And, there will be an even bigger focus, I imagine, on rural and remote content. And they hope to unveil the paper that I was just talking about Northern. It's called the State of Northern Canada is probably what it will be called, and then they will unveil that on the main stage, I guess, at that time. So it was good, and the weather was terrible, and it rained and blew the entire time. We couldn't believe it. Yeah, so.
We would let the rain here too.
Yeah, but that's about all I have for open forum. It's been a crazy week. Actually, Thomas and I just got back this afternoon. Wouldn't have missed this for the world though. And does anyone else have anything they want to add for, oh, I do have one other thing actually. We originally had a meeting, you guys probably know if you read your emails, but I'll just say here for anyone who doesn't know. We had originally had a meeting with Minister of Community Services, Richard Boston, scheduled for June 16th. He unfortunately had to cancel due to I think he had some personal appointments. However, it sounds like we may have a meeting with the Department of Justice on that day instead. Are they coming to Watson Lake? Or is it gonna be Zoom?
In their email, it was still a maybe, so I was gonna follow up with
Okay.
it this week.
Okay, so we don't even know if they're going to.
It was tentative stuff.
Okay, so that's still tentative, so we will be in touch if it's actually happening. But if it does happen, it's going to be June 16th because it's a lot of stuff happening at the same time. Again, I'm gonna be doing some stuff at the OIC in the following days after that, so the rest of the week is anyway, keep you posted. Sorry, Nora, no, I keep asking and then like, I'm just
looking to see, because I've never written something down there.
okay, well, they are in your comments too. I often do the same thing. I start a little note and then.
Certificate.
That's not really.
Thought maybe you changed your mind, I don't know.
I do not have anything further.
Before
Before the,
committee of the whole, the online. Or Patrick?
Yes, I was just gonna,
Okay.
for Councilor Fun, yeah, okay. So nothing further, Councilor open forum, we go down to gallery, open forum. We have one person in the gallery today, Patrick, do you have anything to say?
For a change, sure.
Okay, great.
Well, I'm feeling extra nationalistic, I'm just kidding. The topic of discussing flags, since we have council here, I am just curious about the scope of the policy. And you discussed earlier about the process of requesting flags to be raised, so I'll leave that later. How about people whose special flags are to be raised? What is council or administration planning to do in terms of ceremonies or, for example, I was in Whitehorse last June and they celebrate the Philippines Independence Day and they sing the Philippines national anthem on the Friday closest to June 12th. So if people say wanna do that, is there something that town could do to accommodate that or stuff like that? Just putting that in there first, and I've been also looking at the policy at Whitehorse, and I am also curious if the policy would include preset schedules / dates of when the flags will be raised, like maybe we want the Every Child Matter flags raised on dates this to this, but suddenly a special group wanted that and, priority stuff like that. And putting it out there.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick, did you wanna jump in, Thomas?
Yeah, I was gonna say, funny you should mention that because we're looking at the Whitehorse policy and protocols and various days that surround that they already have scheduled in, such as like there's a day in March where the Union Jack was raised, and it's raised again for a different thing in later on in the year, and they had a scheduled event. So I think that the town would gather together and find things that matter to people and find out what, because we don't wanna have just one designated flag person where it's their job every day to be going through the flags, running up there and like, we're not trying to turn this into a full-time position, however, we don't wanna leave out things that are important to people, right? So I think if the policy would be something along the lines of, if you feel that your flag should be raised on this particular day, write council a letter and or come see us or verbally say it so that we can bring the reasoning to council and have it ahead of time so that we can make things happen for you. But like, I don't think we're gonna look up on Google and be like, whose flag day is today? Because you have no these flags too, right? So to have them in stock, might, right?
So I think to both of your points, I agree, like, I think I like to see in the policy, that people are expected to request that the flag be raised with adequate notice and that they would provide the flag. But as far as ones that we raise all the time, I also like that about the Whitehorse policy. But I think the list of things that they acknowledge, I think some of them might not be as relevant for our area, so maybe we could shorten that list substantially. I think you just named a few that are, ones that we're unlikely to forget about, then that are gonna be happening every year. So I think that we could have a few of those that are, automatically going up. Yeah, so.
You even have things like prostate awareness month and. Right?
Exactly, I guess I'm talking about ones that line up like staff holidays and things like that, those ones that happen every single year, but anyway. We're still obviously talking about this, we're gonna have this policy again, so but thank you for flagging those things. And I also noticed that they have the section around proclamations and celebrations and stuff like that, and I do think that's an important part of it. I don't know if it needs to be in the flag policy or not. There was a thing in there that said that the flag would, the raising of the flag would be sometimes accompanied by a proclamation or whatever, and I know in the past we have had those little ceremonies out in the front there, so I'm not opposed to it. Whether or not it should or needs to be in the policy, I think we'll investigate a little bit more, but
I noticed in one of the policies that said special interest flags, and Councilor Slater commented on it earlier, would be raised for 1 week. And then lower to allow for other requests or not, or a kind of a set time for special interest flags to be raised.
Yeah, okay,
And I think over time, you get a kind of a list of flags that. And times that are important to people in the community, so we kind of can anticipate that, like, Filipino month is right now, so we have this time slot. Where you guys are always hang your flag at that time, kind of thing, so I think, over time, you just sort of get a list going and know when people wanna have their flags hung. And I think that'll kind of alleviate some of that, cause we already can anticipate, right? So,
Basically just questions about how deep will this policy cover and, accommodations and stuff, but the Filipino thing's just an example, maybe some other groups wanted to do proclamations and stuff too, so it's just wondering what council wants to do regarding those. Anyway, thank you for accommodating.
thank you for flagging those, I appreciate that. Appreciate that input, so let's go to the Zoom gallery now, can you scroll to the top, because there's a lot in there, so our two guests have commented in the chat, so I'll just read from Janice. I would just like to comment that flags raised for special events should not just be left up because there is no other flag to raise. Yeah, so one thing that we will need to discuss as part of this policy is something that was outlined in quite a few other policies, if not all of them actually. And all of them are different is the thing as well. So there was one that only allows flags to be up for 7 days. There was one that allows them to be up for the month, if it's for a month-long campaign. So that is something that we will have to discuss as part of this policy. So thank you for flagging that, and it is on our radar. So next we have Colleen. Will Old Francis Avenue have the road resurfaced? When will this happen? And will residents be notified at the start of the project? Let's start there. Do you mind to? Do you know?
I just like on Cam's comments, it says the BST on Francis Avenue, I'm assuming that's the new section.
Yeah, so sorry, Colleen, Cam's not here, but we, when does it say to start that?
So the tender is currently out for the installation, so I think closing is sometimes towards the end of June.
Yeah.
And then we have more information.
So there's a tender out for the BST, but I also seem to recall, Cam saying that the contractor from last year is on the hook for any damage that was done to our existing roads, so I know that that is supposed to happen, but unfortunately don't have an answer for you at that time, Colleen. Cam is gonna be back, I think, I want to say June 14th, so, at the June 17th meeting, though I realize not ideal, we should be able to have an answer for you then. Next, cemetery fees. The interment fees plus overtime charges are a little outrageous. Maybe we can first, the font is really tiny, so maybe we can find some funding to subsidize this, please review. Okay. Look into that. Flag protocol policy. I would like for the town of Watson Lake to consider raising the Art First Nation flag at the municipal office as the town lives, works, and plays in their traditional territory, and thank all that works towards this. Okay, yeah, agree, and that is the plan.
It will be a permanent flag.
It will be a permanent flag. All special flag raising and recognition flags could be done at the Northern Light Center. This is a highly visible from the highway, and all that pass by. Lots of room there, need to be requested by special flag raising. Okay, the operations department could be responsible for the installation, lowering and raising the flags. Yeah, I imagine it would be. It's gonna be Tiffany. Just kidding.
It's currently.
Yeah, it's currently Parks and Rec, but I'm sure that'll be reassessed if need be. The flags along the highway should be all flags of other countries. When tourists come to Watson Lake, they may recognize a lot of the flags of their countries along the highway, feeling welcomed. No other flag should be intermixed with the country flags. Yes, and we are all in agreement with that. Is there any more? Oh, no. Would be nice if the big flag was available through the Rec Department for Canada Day, maybe through heritage funding. Thank you for recognizing flag protocol follow up reviews. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Colleen, and thank you so much for those comments. We will take all of that into consideration. And that, my friends, is the end. So I will now ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you very much. Second,
Second.
all in favor? Great, thanks so much. And see you on the 17th, maybe the 16th, I'll be in touch.